Okay, folks, I've got 7 o'clock and I'm all for an on-time departure and an on-time arrival. My plan is that this is about an hour meeting, should not be in excess of an hour. And future meetings I have, I'll always try to keep it just to an hour and not exceed that, to be kind to your time. This is a new patch that's on display right now that is the Michigan Crossroads Council that's been revised following the integration of the Field Service Council. Those will be available to us one of these days. I've already explained the long story. All right, here's what we want to cover. The purpose of the meeting is really organizational for us and to give some guidance and direction for some things that are coming up. For example, some of the new fundraising campaign initiatives that are being done. And I have Aaron Gatch and Dominic Galtieri, who are on with us as guests this evening, and they will be explaining those to you and being able to handle your questions or comments about them. I'm going to talk a bit about the goals, and then I want to give you on item number 6 an opportunity to, we'll always have this open forum, and the idea of that is for you to raise issues, concerns, opportunities. Not that we will always be able to address them, but we'll certainly note them and then be able to report on them either between meetings or at the next meeting, or have somebody join us who is expert in their subject. So that's the plan. I know that many of you attended that district success conference that we had late October timeframe, and thank you again so much for doing that. Just to briefly state the focus here on the district organization. Those district chairs in an executive kind of role lead the district. They build the team, provide oversight and communication. That's the, you can look at a long position description. I sent you some of those, but that's the essence of what we want. The vice chairs lead committees of volunteers in defined functions, programs, and focus. And that lead is a really important word here. If that vice chair is doing all of those things, then while we're grateful to have it done, it really isn't the way we want it to be. Those vice chairs should be supporting, engaging, energizing others to do this. Okay. The vice chairs specifically for programs develop, plan, develop, and conduct a variety of programs, training, advancement, and camping promotion. That's their primary focus. Development is a focus on fundraising, and when there is a market advisory board in that community, that person is to work with them and be a part of that board so that we have a good continuity of information. In areas where there is no advisory board, the fundraising occurs within the division, the district rather, and that's the go-to person. Membership, as it's classically been, a focus on unit and scouts, particularly those transitions from Cub to the scouting, through WEBOS into the scouting program, and a new member emphasis. The whole idea is we want to grow, we want to sustain, retain, but we also need to grow. And then nomination. Focus on the current vacancies and help us fill those, and then build bench strength for the future. That's something we really haven't been doing, and we need to do that. I made a note at the bottom here, and just to give you a heads up, risk management has continued to be an area of emphasis, and quite honestly, wise organizations recognize this. All of you are familiar with the bankruptcy, the suits, other kinds of things that have happened. And so the MCC board has a committee on this, but there also is an intention to bring this into the districts. At this point in time, I do not see it as a vice chair position. I will just leave it at that. But nonetheless, there will be a functional responsibility within districts that is going to be focused around health, safety, and youth protection. Currently, right now, I saw a roster just yesterday that shows a lot of people have not completed youth protection. And of course, that puts us in a vulnerable position, individually as well as collectively. So please stand by. I'll hope to have either somebody speaking to us about that in our January meeting, or I'll have information to share with you at that time or before. As soon as I know it, you will. What I would like you to do, though, is start thinking about in your list of contacts and the people who you work with, who has an insurance, safety, risk management, any of those backgrounds should be able to be very helpful and become a go-to person within your district's activities, such as camporees, Pinewood derbies, other kinds of things. We'll need to go through a risk assessment. We're going to look at that, and it's a very reasonable thing. There's nothing crazy about it. I've seen the forms already. Very logical, but it's a checklist item to make sure we've thought about things and that we have a plan. So it's a constructive thing, but nonetheless, you need to have some competencies, a person who's really knowledgeable in your districts that your units can go to, as opposed to everybody trying to get that information from Lansing.
Okay.
Unless you know.
Any questions at this point before I go any further?
Check your suitcase?
Mhm.
Okay, no?
Or basket.
So organizational charts and spreadsheets, and you've seen both of those before. And as I see it, they serve two functions. The charts help us visualize how the organizational structure is and the relationships. The spreadsheets allow us for easy updating. One of the problems we've had is we don't have updated information on our districts. So that spreadsheet I sent out to you before, along with that email, that does allow for some very easy updating. Just fill in the name, the phone number, and the email. And that spreadsheet has been designed so that we can roll up the districts. So I have a complete listing for West. And the same thing is happening on the east side, okay, the Great Lakes Division side. And so that Gary Gilger at MCC can have a composite list, a spreadsheet that's up to date all the time. And a very simple thing for if there's a change, an addition, whatever it might be, a change of email, a phone number, you can update that, send it to me, and we'll be sure that it's updated. The other part of that is good is it's going to allow for networking. So ideally, I would love to see district chairs network with each other and vice chairs of program membership. We should be building communities of people who have like responsibilities that want to network. So this spreadsheet of the MCC, and specifically the West or the President Ford Division, will be shared with you just as soon as I get it together. Okay, so I'm depending on you. I'm needing your help. So please do these ASAP. We'll also be able to see where the vacancies exist, and that therefore we can prioritize, and I can help you. And so can people like Frank Cooley, the professionals we have. The charts and position descriptions I sent you, okay, those are fundamentally guidelines. That is the general statement of what we would like a vice chair or a chair to do. Districts will differ depending on their size and complexity. For example, working with Bill and Bruce Emmaus, I know that Northern Lights, which has a good plan going and so on, is going to look different and operate a bit differently than Shoreline. And I know that's going to be different than Eagle Spirit, and that's perfectly okay. What's important is that we have coverage of all the functions, and we have identified a go-to person. That's what's important. Okay? So we'll work with you. Know that there's room for flexibility and adaptability because communities are different and circumstances are different. Questions on that before I move on to anything else? To show you the difference here, this is just an org chart. You've seen the Excel spreadsheet. What's helping here is it's really showing where we have vacant positions. Okay? And as you notice in that little bottom right-hand corner, I put risk management, health, safety, TBD, sometime in 21. it gives us an idea of who our commissioners are, you know, and their relationship as part of that District Key 3. And importantly, I'll use Eagle Spirit as this example here, the district chair position is vacant. It is in everybody's best interest, Bonnie's in particular, to help us find a person who can serve in the district chair role extremely well. And Bruce, a shout out to him. He was extremely helpful and helping to bring Bill Sommerfeld on board as the district chair. And as it's come out in the past, they've worked together. They're great partners. They complement each other. There's no competition. They are looking at what do they have to do and how are we going to organize to do it. And that's exactly what we'd love to have and need to have in every one of our districts. So again, Northern Lights, hats off. You guys are on the roll. Let me use another Wabeno. Paul, I didn't get your permission, but bear with me on this. Paul has a district commissioner that's vacant. Okay? And he also has a number of unit commissioners, at least at this time, that we don't know that there's anybody there. Perhaps there is. But these kinds of things call out to us what we have to do to build our districts. That's really the goal that we have this year. One of three is to build the districts. So as much as you can, you know, help one another. For example, Wabeno and Pathfinder, for example, are not too far apart from each other. People live in communities that traverse. I know when we were combining Thumb district, for example, with the adjacent district, we found people that actually lived in the adjacent district. And so knowing resources, sharing, gee, I think Frank has a background, et cetera. He could be a good district commissioner for you, Paul, had you considered him. Okay, but sharing that information would be very helpful. Okay. The meetings that we have, these monthly meetings, I would like for all of our convenience, yours and mine, to agree on a date and a time to have them. There are going to be some times in the year, I think probably July, where everybody's off to camp and so on. We will probably not have a meeting. I understand that. But for the most part, would the first Monday of each month for an hour, 7 to 8, be a time that we could meet and set it on the calendars for us. And if the district chair can't be there, the designee is there. If there is no district chair, a commissioner or one of the other, perhaps vice chairs, would fill in, but we need coverage. We want representation from every district at each of these meetings, okay? So maybe with, let's see, how can we do this, Frank, where we get a show of hands that says aye on this? Is there a way? I have a list of participants.
Sorry, Frank, say that again, please.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. On your control there, you got an opportunity to raise your hand. Do you? Okay.
I can raise my hand and
on
I
it.
hit the chat.
Yep.
Several people have
If
already
you're
hit
okay, if you're okay with the first Monday of the month, 7 to 8, please raise your hand, and we'll take that as a vote. Oh wow. Okay. Good.
Hey, Frank, Paul Donovan, just make a suggestion. What we do in the ASME code meetings, we do the negative. So what you would have,
Yes.
what you would do there is that unless there's an objection, we're doing X, Y, Z. And that's the better way to do it on a computer meeting.
Thank you, Paul. Good idea. So,
To my
Depending on
knowledge,
it.
Frank, to my knowledge, the only district that has a meeting on Monday night is Eagle Spirit. They've got, the first Monday is their commissioners meeting. I guess either Bonnie could appoint a representative, but Bonnie runs that commissioners meeting naturally on Mondays.
and Bonnie will be very inspired to get a new district chair. Aye?
Okay.
Okay, so let's set it then as Monday, the first Monday of the month, 7 to 8. And we'll put it on the calendar. We'll send you the Ring Central invitations and so forth. In fact, I'm going to ask Frank if he'll be kind enough to do that for us. So goals, great time of the year to be talking about that. Here are my goals, and here are the President Ford goals for district operations. The ones that are particularly pertaining to district, not fundraising goals, etc., but the district operations. That we have all chair and vice chair positions filled, right, in all districts by the 28th of February. I know that's aggressive. I realize that. But if we don't have it by the 28th of February, we're going to have a hard time completing the organizational effort through the rest of the year. And then we hit summer, and there's that time that not a lot of stuff gets done, if you will, organization. So if you would join me in really making a very concerted effort. In the ideal world, you'd have a nominating committee and you would vote people onto chairs and vice chair positions. I want us to get to that, but not in 2021. It's not realistic and we cannot wait. We don't have the time. Also, speaking of time right now, because sports have been limited in our state, because other things have been limited, quite honestly, we have an opportunity we ought to capture, and that is to be contacting people, talking to people, and getting commitments to help us serve in roles on district committees. So at 28th of February is a challenge, but I really believe we could step up to it. Frank and Ryan, others, we're all committed to helping you. We definitely want the right person in the seat. A warm body, that we don't need that, or somebody who's partially interested. That's not fair to them, not fair to us. So let's do the very best we can. I love that Cub Scout motto there. Do your best, right? Establish a successful nominating committees in all districts by the end of April. This is to help us build that succession planning. A district chair ideally should be in the seat at the most 3 years, and we should rotate. And we should rotate vice chairs. And we should have a bench strength of people that want to advance it or serve in these positions and coming out of troops or coming out of packs, particularly as their children leave the scouting program. Third objective, very important, is by the end of the year, we collectively agree, each district, that we have an effective district committee. Now, effective means all the functions are being done and that we have leadership in place and that committees are operating. And again, they'll look different district to district. We understand that. But the term is effective. It's being done. The units are being served. Okay? In other words, we need to field full teams. You heard me say that in October. For yourselves as district leaders, I know some of you, and I already talked about Bill, and I know that others of you are in process now. You have some goals that you are in process of developing or even perhaps finalizing. Some have not yet begun to do that. And so I'm going to be getting together with you one-to-one and saying, where are you and what can we do to help and so on. But by January 30th, it's important for us to identify, for you in particular, to identify 3 important goals for each vice chair function. So 3 as it would relate to membership, 3 as it would relate to programs and so on. Okay? You would do this in collaboration with your president, Ford, VP for that area. So Derek, for example, is online tonight, as well as Jen and so on, Jen Betts. So we want you to collaborate and develop goals that make sense and quite honestly are achievable. Okay? It's no sense, or it's highly frustrating to have a goal that's not achievable. It's demoralizing and disappointing. So let's think about that, and really, that's a goal we want to commit to complete by the end of the year. Now, the goals that I have above might serve as a possible suggestion for you, and they get to be fairly specific. Build what? 12 effective committees by when? December 31st. All chairs, vice chairs by 28 February. So being specific, okay, having something to measure it by, and having a date, okay, a conclusion date or a time frame. And you guys know all this anyway. Let's do that. Let's build goals that way. Please send those to me by the 30th of January. And then after that, on our monthly calls, not everybody's going to report on every goal, but we'll do some exception reporting. Things that, for example, are done very well, that you've been successful with, or things you need help with, or things that look like if you don't get help, we're not going to make it. So it's a bit of an exception management as opposed to a recital. Does that make sense? Is that okay?
Actually, it's a bit confusing because when they had the presentation earlier, they were saying they needed the district chairs by the end of April and the vice chairs by the end of February. So this is a little different.
I'm being aggressive. You're right, Dave.
Well, and the other thing too.
I'm asking if we can do that. The sooner we can put them together, the sooner we're going to be on the road.
Right. And the other thing too is, I mean, we already had our district committee meeting. And so then we haven't given anybody a heads up that they need to develop goals by the end of January. For us, it would make a lot more sense to have that be the end of February instead.
Well, let me work with you on that, Dave. But if others haven't, if they're not in your same circumstance, let's try to press for the end of January. It's like a ball game, right? Instead of having 12 periods of play, we're going to only have 10 or 11. So, but I'm much more interested in us having good, realistic, doable goals that people buy into, and that they're coming from the bottom up, that is from you, as opposed to the top down. We know top down generally isn't a good way to go about that.
I agree. And I just believe it will take time to develop good goals instead of rushing and throwing things together.
Well, Dave, I'll work with you and know that you've got the freedom to do that.
Frank, I think,
Go ahead.
Carol, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Carol. For each VC function, not for each VC, but for each function you have listed in the chart back in slide number 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, like was said by Dave, if you don't have a position, if you don't have a VC in position, it's a little bit hard to develop for each function. My hope would be we would have 3 goals for each VC, and we can find someone to hold those positions.
Yeah, that's where I'd encourage you to work with that area VP on the president for division.
Okay.
For example, like Derek. And it's something that you collaborate with them and say, okay, this is realistic and doable in our area. Derek has been part of it. You can do it. And even if we don't have a vice chair, we're still going to run programs, right?
Right.
You have thoughts and ideas, and others do, about the programs you want to run. Let's state those. What are they? We know what our membership situations are. What are we going to do about that?
Frank, maybe what we can do is after this phone call today or tomorrow is send them an email and double check when everybody has upcoming district meetings, because I think that's the point Dave was making, They just had their district meeting. Their next district meeting will be in January after New Year's. And I think that's why he's saying if they have 30 to 45 days in their case,
Yeah.
it could be some districts are still going to have district meetings this month, but probably doubtful. And then the other thing which we might want to do is share some suggestions on goals. Because when Carol mentioned if we're missing a key player, it could be the goal is to either obviously to recruit that program person or to do something related to camp promotions or something else as one of the goals. But maybe we could send them some suggestions that will.
That would be helpful.
Okay,
All right.
I agree, and we'll do that. And let's just move the date as part of our conversation here, the end of February, okay, for everybody. And if you can beat that date and by the end of January, wonderful. Let's work for that where you can. But if you can't, Dave's made a very good point, and you've reinforced it, Frank. And that's good goals by the end of February. Fair?
Frank, can I jump in here for real quick?
Please.
I want to reinforce what Frank Cooley said in response to Carol, that if you do not have a vice chair of program, then that would absolutely be a phenomenal goal for one of the three goals that Mr. Nowakowski is talking about. And the second one might be to train that person, you know, and the third one might be to assist them in filling his team. Very simple and basic goals. You know, Frank's talking about important goals. Well, those are three very important goals for that particular role. So if you have vacant holes, those can be your primary goals for that area. So Frank Cooley had a great idea there.
And we're building for the future, gang. I mean, what we want is to build strong divisions that not only are effective, perform well, but that we can hand off to some other leader down the road, feeling confident they've got things that work well. And they'll improve on that. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. This is a part of the session that I'd like to turn over to Dominic and Eric. I think Aaron rather is on as well. But what we want to talk about here is the role of the new market development boards, the leadership and adventure campaign, community FOS, support of special events, and the James E. West campaign. So that's the agenda, and I'd shared that with Dominic earlier today. And Dominic, are you going to lead off on this?
Sure. Thank you very much for the time tonight, Frank. As we move forward with the reorganization, there's going to be a close tie between the development officers and the district executives as we work to meet the financial needs of the council. One of the first things we need to talk about is the market development boards. This is an integral step where we're focused on finding the manpower to support the development needs. These groups are going to come together as needed, probably once a month, and find community leaders, scout leaders, the appropriate people to make sure we are filling out our manpower needs. This will take the role of looking at people to support the Community Friends of Scouting campaign, support the Leadership and Adventure for Tomorrow campaign, which we'll discuss shortly, as well as special events, identifying opportunities where there's special event crossover across the council or the division boundaries in the Michigan Crossroads Council, as well as providing some of the strategic leadership needed for the development efforts. For those that haven't heard, we obviously have gotten rid of the Friends of Scouting family campaign. And in doing so, there's two campaigns that have come up: the Community Friends of Scouting campaign and the Leadership and Adventure for Tomorrow. Sorry, I didn't build a slide for it, but Leadership and Adventure for Tomorrow. The campaign is focused around working with donors on a multiple year request that supports operating, but also gives us the opportunity to sit down and talk about endowment giving, such as James E. West, larger gifts such as the Second Century Society, which would be a gift of outright cash gift of $25,000 over 5 years, or $100,000 in deferred. And through this collaboration and the work, we have built some excitement. We've had some very great conversations, and I believe right now we've secured over about $200,000 across Michigan Crossroads Council to go through for the next 5 years. So that's a big impact. It's also increased our endowment. Normally we talk about operating dollars all the time, but a big portion of the LAFT campaign is focused on endowment, securing the funds we need so that way, we're able to draw on the interest and provide some financial security and stability across the council. Right now, we are in the process of working through board and district campaigns, presenting the LAFT campaign, and working on securing a 30 for 30 campaign where we're targeting the 30 donors in each area to help secure and kick off what will be the operating campaign for next year. And how this all ties together is part of the Community Friends of Scouting plan. Right now, we have sat down with all the district executives and field directors across the President Ford Division and looked at family gifts we feel have the opportunity to be moved into the community campaign because the donors give at a level we feel will still be sustainable and even without the Friends of Scouting campaign, as well as identify prospects for volunteers who can help us raise community dollars. Part of the focus is going to be making sure that we work together. Right now, we're working on shared goals between development officers and district executives, a shared plan where everyone is working as a team to make sure that we are successful. We've been working with them and establishing goals that are based off of history. But when I say history, I don't mean, we took all the family and all the community added together and then added some money onto it. Oh, is that better?
You're back.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not sure why I cut out there, but we worked with them to kind of establish goals based off of history and what we feel will be possible going forward with the correct planning. So right now they are working and hopefully have shared with you some of their thoughts and ideas and plans for the community annual giving or Friends of Scouting campaign. We still acknowledge that the Friends of Scouting family campaign's gone and there's no talk of bringing that back, just so that way anyone who hears otherwise knows that that is not part of the plan. As we build forward and going, special event is going to be a key part of our fundraising campaign as we move forward. This is also a great opportunity for those that are looking at working and securing new volunteers to be engaged. A lot of the donors who come to these events might not have ties to scouting, but they participate annually, which means that they do believe in the program. They might just be waiting for the right ask or the right person to help build that campaign as well. So the special events you will see will be coming out and we'll cross all district boundaries and are encouraging people to participate. And we're going to encourage district executives to be participating not necessarily in the planning or the execution of the event while they might support it, but to be there to actually meet and engage potential community volunteers who can help them in all their campaigns. We talked briefly about the importance of endowment, but it's something that you're going to hear going on throughout the year. We're running an active James E. West campaign, as well as working with some of our larger donors to see if they will help make a larger contribution to the endowment campaign. Right now, we're able to draw off that, and that does equate to a good, I believe, I'm going off a turn, but that does have about a 4.5% to 5% spend policy annually as set up by the volunteers on our endowment committee who advise us of the funds. And that makes a big impact because it's revenue we know we can count on for years to come. We're hoping that as we put more time and attention into cultivating endowment gifts, we'll be able to ease the burden of the operation dollars that have to be raised every year. overall, one of our biggest focuses is making sure that we do secure the funds that are needed, the people that are needed for the funds, but also cultivating our donors and making sure we say thank you to the donors throughout. So a lot of our development officers working with their district executive counterparts are going to be making sure that they communicate with donors that we haven't talked to in a while, or donors that might not be connected as much as everyone on this phone call is, who are volunteers within the program, who not only donate but give their time as well. So for that, I also want to say thank you to everyone on this call. I know a few of you. I'm look forward to working with everyone as we move forward as this combined effort of development officers and district executives to be successful as we go forward.
Thank you, Dominic. Aaron, do you have any thoughts that you want to share with the group as well, perhaps on the market development boards?
You know, not specifically, Frank. I'd certainly love to take any questions or clarifications that the group has. Dominic, I think, did a nice job of giving the overview on all of it. But if there are any specific questions that we can drill into, or things that are out there that we need to be aware of or address, I mean, we're absolutely happy to support any way we can.
Yeah, if you guys can get into the details about which ones, like on this slide right here, which ones of these go into the endowment, which ones of them go into the operating fund? Is there one specifically for properties? That sort of detail would be helpful to have.
Not a problem. James E. West campaign is all endowment. That is a minimum $1,000 in unrestricted or restricted to the Boy Scouts, but operating dollars. Is not restricted to a specific program. The Leadership and Adventure for Tomorrow campaign incorporates both an annual giving portion as well as an operating or an endowment portion of the ask, with a focus first on general operations and second on endowment. So those two kind of go together. Community Friends of Scouting and special events all support the annual operations of Michigan Crossroads Council and the President Ford Division. So most of these dollars would go into annual operations, with the exception of James E. West and any specific endowment ask as part of the Leadership and Adventure for Tomorrow campaign.
Okay,
Dominic,
so what about
the
properties?
boards?
Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Well, we just had a Boyce event, and that's an endowment, right?
No, that's not endowment. That's annual operating, Tom.
Oh, okay. That's good news.
Yeah. And then Dave, to answer your question, as far as properties or a capital campaign in nature, the annual operating dollars raised support the annual maintenance up at camp. It all goes into that fund that helps make that campaign possible and the annual maintenance possible. As far as capital needs go, those projects will be addressed kind of on a case-by-case basis as projects are presented and approved approved in the budget to be carried out. So there's not a capital campaign event or capital campaign that is planned right now in the President Ford Division. But the general maintenance does come out of the operating budget.
So I brought up the organizational chart image of Eagle Spirit. And I did this for a particular reason. This Grand Rapids lawyer event has been a pretty successful event. We also have one on physicians. We found that physicians are Eagles. Many of them have been in the scouting program. A good number of them are Eagles. They have been very generous in their donations. They enjoy the recognition of them having become successful professionals that had roots and a basis in districts is going to be very helpful. For example, Hastings has done, Ned Brown and Carl have done a
Frank, we're
wonderful
losing
job.
you.
Can you hear it better now?
Yeah, there we go.
All right, so the Hastings breakfast, we've come to learn that the people in Hastings just don't care to drive to Grand Rapids for breakfast. And the people in Rockford, 13 miles away, don't want to do it either, and nor do those in Granville. And I live in Holland, I understand, I get it. So having these small, if you will, zonal luncheons of interested people have not only raised interest, but also raised dollars for us. And so think as well beyond the James West Fellowship and some of the other things that we're talking about. Incidentally, there's some very good pieces of literature that Aaron and the other development people have worked up that explain this, each of these campaigns well. And so there's good support for that. I think it's some nice professional work. It doesn't look schlocky. You know, it's like it's half-baked or so. But these local events can be very helpful to us.
Frank, if I might just add on a little bit, just you know, as far as how does our field leadership engage the, you know, some of the end goals of development and some of the end goals of the scope work that these market development boards or that our district finance groups and development groups are working on through their community campaigns, or the local special event or the local promotion of the James West. So any of those pieces, I guess I wanted to just say, first of all, although we have switched to a, you know, more of a functional model where we have a functional team that works on field operations and membership and popcorn and, you know, all things unit supporting, and we have the second team that works on development and fundraising and developing alumni and developing endowment, James West gifts, etc. And then we have this third functional team that works on developing programs and camps and opportunities to engage training and advancement and things. And we have representatives, you know, all those groups on this call tonight. What we talk about, I think, in all those teams is the ability, just like we're doing tonight, to make sure each of the other teams knows what the other teams are doing and what the goals and what the tools those other teams have to deploy. Because I think our goal, shared goal, if I might submit, should be that each team knows what the other team's mission is and that we all help each other accomplish that mission. Even if we don't necessarily get our hands dirty on that team working to accomplish those goals on a daily basis or coordinate those goals on a daily basis, we all, with our eyes and ears and networks and connections, I believe, can be positioned to share a prospect or make a referral or encourage someone to participate in a program, even if it exists outside of our team. And we see that when we see a development volunteer meet up with a donor prospect who potentially wants to help start a unit through their organization, or when a district volunteer who's working on membership meets with a business owner who they have a contact with and helps refer them to a special event or a Friends of Scouting breakfast. And when a camping volunteer is working on advancement with a unit level volunteer, helps for that person back over to participate on a community Friends of Scouting breakfast that they know about. So what I'm submitting for consideration is that the more we can do this and just share the different tools in the toolboxes and the different priorities and goals of all three of these functional operating teams of our council, the better we as volunteers and professionals can link arms and share back and forth, ultimately getting more dollars into our council and our organization to support kids, more units, more scouts, more membership, more kids in camp, more advancement, etc. So I think this is one of those key areas. And in the future, as we go down the road here, I would submit, just on behalf of development, very specific to this conversation, if there are alumni to reconnect, if there are people interested in making a significant financial contribution, a corporate gift, a possible prospect to invite to a community Friends of Scouting breakfast, a golf outing, all anyone on this group has to do is mention that to your district executive or to your development officer who you work with, or to any of the development volunteers, certainly, that work on our development team. And just making that connection, making that referral, making that name known to us, we will partner with you and we'll take it from there. And we'll talk with you on how do we engage that prospect, what is the situation, so that we do that in the right way. You can rest assured we'll do that with you in the right way to bring that prospect forward. Just in the same way our volunteers and staff would look to refer a new unit or a new member or someone to this team to help fulfill that end of the council's mission and the end of the council's goals. So I just wanted to put that out there and explain some of the vision of how I think we can work closer together going forward, even though there's two functional groups who really can do it together.
And this specialization has been particularly helpful because those, and I was a district chair for 3 years. You know, fundraising wasn't the thing that I liked to do the most, quite honestly. And when you have a go-to, and prior to this new organization and the way we're doing this, the district chair or somebody on your committee had to handle the donor. They had to do the fundraising. They had to do the things that, quite honestly, either they don't have a heart for or it isn't their skill set. And so it didn't get done, sadly, but it just didn't. And so now we have somebody to hand off that lead to who is prepared and wants to close on it. And that's great. As if I was a district chair, that would be a great freeing up of my time and a great confidence that the interest could be handled well.
Frank, I think you had 2 hands go up, and I'm not sure if they're old or new. One by Bill and one by Paul, unless they're old
Well,
hand raising.
please go ahead. Paul?
That was an old hand. I just didn't lower it. Sorry.
Okay. And was it, you said Bill had a question?
Yeah, mine was an old one too that I didn't put down. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for the eagle eyes, Frank. I appreciate it. We're at 7:46. We're at a point in time of the evening here where it's open forum. What are the issues, concerns, successes that you would like to share or either have as an agenda item for the January meeting or something you want us to be aware of? So,
Frank, I had one quick question
Yes.
so nobody jumps off before. I just need to know, I've got everybody's name down other than the phone number 308-1019. I just need a name for that phone number.
That's Jen Bet.
Oh, okay, Jen, thanks.
Everyone can block that number now, right?
I do all the time. That's why I didn't recognize it, Jen.
Log the number, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Okay, if anyone wants to make a comment, just raise a hand and we'll call on you.
I don't know where to see raise your hand, but I have a comment, Frank.
Okay.
This high-tech stuff is killing me. Frank, my only concern, and I talked to you and I talked to Derek about this, as we're recruiting these vice chairs and filling these positions, it's always been very important to me to align with council and have those vice chairs attending those council meetings, council level meetings. And I don't want them to sit too long. Derek, you know, has been really great in talking to me about, you know, this is a transitional period and to be patient. But I'm hoping that council recognizes that, you know, we've got these people sitting and waiting for that council guidance. I mean, we'll continue on as a district, but you know, we sure want that support from council. So I'm just concerned to have this drag out. And I talked to you about that the other day, Frank. And I'm hoping that we can get these other council level committees going where they're having regular meetings, and our new people can attend those.
And to help on the terminology these days, what was the President Ford Council is now President Ford Division. So it'll be these divisional level meetings.
Yep, division level, okay.
Yep. Derek, any thoughts, comments since you're online?
No, just Bruce is absolutely correct. And it's been a long road, at least for my group. I got pretty much everybody fully engaged. It's on my team to reach down to the districts, except my activities guy. He's new and it's hard to get to know people when you're new in town and we can't get face to face and whatnot. But and building the roster is taking some time too. But the training committees, if you have a training person, that person should be engaged. If not, I need to know, because that means Nathan doesn't have their name. If you have advancement people, then you should be getting engaged with Troy and James Longo, and they're up and running and functioning. And the camping promotions team is probably the last couple of weeks, they've just started rolling in conjunction with the outdoor adventure team. So they have their information and they'll be getting contacted very, very soon if they haven't already. As far as your vice chair of program, the email is in the process of being composed for those that we have on the roster. That'll go out in the next couple of days for our first meeting. It's just been a long road to try to get the names of the right people in the right place. It's very important to me for us to have the right people in these roles and not just a name on a docket. So we're getting there. And like I said to Bruce the other day on our phone call, it's just timing. We just got to do it and do it right, but we don't want to rush into it and do it wrong. But as far as programs concerned, they should be getting contacted, or if they haven't, you just need to let me know so that I can make sure that I have their name. I can't speak to membership or development or any of those other committees though. But I'm sure that they're kind of probably in the same similar situation that I am. This is rebuilding from the ground up. And the ground level is the district level and near the foundation of everything we do for our scouts.
Frank, I've got a kind of a closing thought. Everybody's seen probably 500 times that Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with burl ives. But the coach in there, if he had been to youth protection training, it would not have been an issue because he would not have excluded somebody with a red nose. And that's kind of important for us to recognize that as going through that training, if you've got a kid with a red nose, you don't exclude him. And that's, you know, I've even had like our church groups and people like that suggest they take the youth protection training, having been involved in youth sports and things like that. It's excellent training beyond, you know, some of the other nasty stuff, but just how to deal with young people and how to make them feel safe. And I think that's something that I think, yeah, it's long training and it's not particularly exciting, but there's a lot of good stuff in there and good things for parents and grandparents as well as youth leaders. Thank you.
I agree, Paul. And I've been thinking about the same Rudolph, that he was bullied all those years ago. So it really fits. The question I keep getting, we have picked up the Thumb District, is why in the world are we in the President Ford Division instead of on the east side of the state when a good part of our district and our Thumb Now district that we've picked up really are, we consider on the east side of the state?
It's a very good question, and I'll have Gary Gilger give us an answer for that.
I'd like to see a map, please.
Oh, yeah, we definitely will give you a map. That's all right. You haven't seen a map yet?
I haven't.
Okay,
Not
all right.
since we picked up the Thumb.
Okay, we'll get you that.
Thank you.
Frank, could I just make a quick word of invitation here before we close up?
Please, yes.
I hope that everyone on this call has seen the invitation, but just for the chance that you haven't, I know almost every single person I recognize on this call, not only to be a passionate giver of their time, but also a donor and supporter of our mission here in the council. And to that end, tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., we have a 2020 Scouting Impact video that's going to be premiered live from our website. I put the link to that in the chat in case you haven't seen it, or just ping your district executive or me an email if you can't copy it from the chat there. But it's streaming live from our website at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. And on that video, you'll get a few words of thanks and inspiration, hopefully, from some of our volunteers around the council. But what I think you should really also take note of is some stories told firsthand by scouts and parents from our council about the impact scouting's had in their life in this year, in 2020, despite everything going on and the challenges they've faced as kids and as families. There's just some unbelievable stories of the impact that the scouting program was able to deliver them. And you can hear on the video right from their mouth. And I've been working on it today and, watching a little bit of the preview video, and it certainly makes me proud to partner with you all to help make sure scouting is available to every child here in Michigan. And I think anyone who watches it will feel the same. So if you can, please tune in, take a look at it. It's not too long. It's only about 45 minutes. And if you can't make it tomorrow night, you can go to that link anytime. The video will stay there just to view afterwards at your convenience. But I guess I would just sign off by saying, on behalf of all of those tens of thousands of children in Michigan here in scouting who probably don't know the unbelievable amount of work it takes to lead our districts and keep our units supported, I just want to say thanks on their behalf and have an absolutely wonderful holiday season. And Frank, thanks for including us tonight.
Aaron, thank you for joining, and Dominic as well. So we're getting real close to, go ahead.
Tom has his hand raised.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, before we close, and maybe this is a longer answer that can be dealt with offline, but it occurred to me with all this recruiting that we're supposed to do for the vice chairs and all that, I'll admit I haven't looked at all the training module system. So if we recruit somebody, are there 1 or 2 quick videos that take them through training for their positions so that they can kind of get onboarded quickly?
There are training materials, and let me put that as an action item to get that information to you.
Because Frank, what I was thinking, it'd be great, you gave those job descriptions and stuff. At the bottom of those, it'd be nice to add the recommended training videos for that particular position. And I don't mean a list of 20 or 30. I'm just talking about 1, 2, 3 that are quick outside of youth protection, that are job specific. We know everybody has to do youth protection, but it would be like if you're the vice chair of program, what is there a training module for that? And, or is there 2 of them or 3 of them that they need to watch for, like, activities in OA or whatever, stuff like that. That would be very helpful. And
great recommendation. Thank you.
And the links on where to get them.
Good
recommendation. I'll follow up with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Frank, can I spell in on that? When we discussed this topic about a year ago with Becky Landis, Becky is saying that there's no, there isn't any particular training for advancement chair, membership chair. They're all under the district committee. And so that's what I've instructed our new recruits to take is that the district committee training in the Learn Center of MyDOT Scouting.
Thanks, Bruce. And also, Tom, I think it's an excellent suggestion to put that on the bottom of that description. And we can do that. That's easy. Just electrons. It works. All right.
Hey, Frank, can we have an org chart of the divisional level as soon as it's available? I know when they had the presentations where they were talking about all the district positions and trying to have the district chair in place by the end of February and trying to have the vice chairs by the end of April, there was talk about having all this divisional org chart developed.
Very good. I'll follow up on that.
Frank, would it help if we just take the one we're using for the district and just transpose that over the council and put like Derek in there for VP program? I'm sorry. Yeah. Vice President program. you for ops, Jen for commissioners, and I'll get with Dominic on
me
development
check.
names.
Let me check with what Dave Ellis already may have done and what Aaron might have available. And let me get back with you on that. It's a good point, Dave. Thank you. Okay, as we wrap up, feedback on this meeting. How did this go for you in the time that we had? Comments? Good use of your time? Not? Send me an
Jen,
email.
I don't,
Just let me
I
know.
don't have
Give
the
me,
ability to.
go ahead,
You
Jen.
did a great job, and I think it's important that we're all on the same page. It's not a bad idea for us to be reaching out, everybody getting on the same page, talking about a similar goal or focus, and then reporting back how we're focusing on the goal. So at the first Monday of the month, we're all going to come with a couple of names of people we think could be part of the committee, because recruiting is going to be our primary focus. And I think having an action meeting, not necessarily a report meeting, is a good way to do that.
Thanks, Jen. On the first two items, recapping the agreements and the assignments, I will send you an email. I won't go over that verbally. January 4 is the next meeting after the holiday. And as we wrap up, I thought this was I did a little internet look, and I always liked this particular one, the greatest Christmas gift you can give. And there it is, BSA Scouting, taking us back to 1932. Wish list for Santa. And on that, I wish everyone a wonderful holiday season, safe and enjoyable, and look forward very much to working with you in 2021.